come across well too. I didn't, he projects a lot of sincerity and conviction. But you mentioned who it was brought by. I mean, unfortunately, we've all seen in this recent fiasco mess out of Washington, D.C., what has happened with 8 U.S. attorneys around the country. Most of them are out west, a few of them are a little closer by, but who refused or were reluctant to prosecute Democratic politicians at the behest of Karl Rove and the Justice Department. Karl Rove, who's just political, everything he does is political to the nth degree, Well,
in fact, they've asked for Attorney General Gonzalez to step down as a result of this. Many Democrats and many Republicans as well.
Well, that's right. It's been a bipartisan call for him to step down because, first of all, either he's suspect on the lack of integrity on all that he said. I mean, he couldn't recall anything. He could hardly recall his wife's name when he was there, and and that's a little exaggeration, but he just couldn't recall anything. And we know that's not true. Somebody that level of competence, a U.S. Attorney General, ought to be able to recall a lot. He couldn't recall anything. So he wasn't being truthful in his testimony to Congress about the 8 political violations. He didn't know anything about them, he said.
Yes.
I mean, do you believe that? 8 U.S. attorneys, and these were Republicans, not Democrats, that he fired, whose chief sin was their sluggishness or hesitation about going after Democratic political figures.
That sounds like a subject we need to get on probably another show. I would love to have you come back on and we talk about that.
I'd be happy to do so because obviously the Republican U.S. attorney in Montgomery wasn't fired. She is still in the job today, and so one could, I think, effectively conclude or deduct that whatever pressure she may have had, if any, from Washington D.C., was not pressure that she was reluctant to pursue.
Well, now if also, you have here a courtroom within the United States District Court, which is separate from the state court system completely.
Right.
And you have a judge who is appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate, but you have a United States District Court judge who sits over the trial.
Right.
In this particular case, can you tell us about this judge who?
Well, I've got to say this respectfully because, everything in my training as a lawyer is that one must be respectful to the judiciary.
Yes.
But I have to say respectfully that he is the most pro-prosecution judge I've ever come in contact with, nobody else even close. I mean, I had a case of my own in front of him where I felt like a lot of his rulings were very pro-prosecution, and I mean, I say that again respectfully. I'd say it to his face, But I think in this particular case, I've had an opportunity to see something that's been filed recently, and it concerns me greatly. A brief in support of a motion to recuse and a motion for vacatur or new trial based on newly discovered evidence, and it sets forth, this is public record, so I'm not saying something that's not accessible by any member of the public, and it sets forth what I think are some real serious conflicts of interest, or potential conflicts of interest. It certainly gives the appearance of a conflict. And
that's a concern because if I remember correctly, judges are supposed to be impartial and always give that appearance of being impartial in order to validate any particular type of judgment that may be rendered by that court at a later point in time.
That's what our foundation of our justice system in America is sat upon, is an appearance or the hope of fairness. Now, it's bad enough for the U.S. Attorney's Office to be, like they were highly political, certainly impartial, but then they've got an axe to grind in a way. They've got a mission that they're pursuing, however misguided, so you don't expect them to be impartial. But the judge who sits on the case is supposed to be fair to both sides, supposed to be impartial, and the standard is that you have to avoid not only partiality or being unfair to one side, but you got to avoid the appearance of partiality. You got to be impartial. You got to give the appearance of impartiality. And I think some of the stuff that's been filed by Scrushy's lawyers in Montgomery on this case, they filed it on April the 18th, raised some very serious issues about him having stock, significant amounts of stock in a company that did a lot of business with the federal government. And,
I have not seen the document in it that was filed, and this is a motion to have the judge, the federal judge, and I believe that was Mark Fuller, have him recused so that you can continue on with the additional issues that have to come up, and also with other concerns. I think, is it still going on in some extent?
Well, I guess it's still pending. I'm not sure if it's been ruled on or not, but I think I heard that he did not respond personally. I wasn't there, but it just declared that he didn't have any conflicts. A lot of judges will say that.
Well, this is filed. It says here April 18th, 2007. Now it's filed now.
Okay. Well, I've just been informed that it was denied, and
okay.
And I thought, frankly, that maybe it had been denied. At least he didn't. He certainly hadn't granted it, and it's a pretty well researched document which reflects that. He did, in fact, his company did, in fact, receive a good bit of money from a contract with the federal government, and a lot of it was going on during the time of the trial. And I just, he may claim that, oh, this doesn't, interfere with his being a fair and impartial judge, but it certainly doesn't give that appearance. I mean, when you're doing a lot of business with one side in the case, the federal government is big, and a lot of it was with the Air Force, but some of it looks like it might have been with the FBI, and the FBI is a big part of the case. They work for the U.S. attorneys, and